All right, Chad, you told us all about your car. Now tell us about your R1 tune and how you got below 2 seconds. Well, quite honestly, there's really no magic behind it, but I will guide you through everything as well as I can and show you some things that I'm going to do to try to get even faster. I'm Chad, this is Dorky M40 RC channel, and we are going to make you faster today. Big shout out to everybody here in the community, 9,300 subscribers and growing. Cannot believe it. If you guys like what we're doing here, you can support us with an Amazon affiliate link down below in the description, or you can buy me a beer or whatever with the paypal.me link below. Now, first of all, if you have anything to add to this video, I am open to all ears. Please leave a comment, like the video so other people can share and all that kind of stuff. You know, I don't go blasting things all over Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So I want real good information. You guys, I know a lot of you are using R1 already, and some of you are really thinking about it. So my first honest opinion is that if you have a solid 2.1, 2.2 second GNSS car, because that's the tool that we have, then if you're willing to invest in the system, you will go faster. I have no doubt about it. It happened for me. I did everything I could to the car and pushed the castle system and everything else as hard and as fast as I could, and I just couldn't get there, but this got me there. So in order to get this done, of course, you're going to need an R1 system. You're going to need their Wi-Fi link and of course some kind of device. I have found that an Android device works actually a lot better than my iOS devices. Same thing on the McLaren. It just seems to connect and stay connected a lot easier. So when I bring the car back from a pass, the first thing I always do is turn it off and then turn it back on and then start the app, and that seems to connect every time. Just doesn't seem to work that way with the iOS. Now, of course, the other thing I'm using is the Sanwa M17. So the M17 and what it actually does to the car has actually became a little bit more diminished, but it's still just uber important. So right off the bat, let's just get started with the tuning video here. So my settings right now in my Sanwa M17 are pretty basic. So I'm building everything off of a -96 ramp, and that's pretty much it. 100% dual rate. But the brakes turned down pretty low, and right now we'll show the tune and stuff on here that I did for my last 198 run at 76 miles per hour, and we were running a 15 point. So I've got the custom menu set up and everything, and that all looks like that right there. You guys should be able to see that, I hope. So that is what everything looks like. If you're using other radios, you know, again, I wish I could provide you with more information, but I just can't. So in some cases, I will change the point number, and in very, very extreme cases, I will change the speed from -96 to -95. If you take a look at this graph right here, you can see this is starting at a 0.0. So you're going from 0 all the way up to 100 as you pull the trigger. You can see the time that it takes to do that with the speed ramp of the Sanwa, how it's actually timed out. So the -95 does get you to 100% faster, so it's more aggressive, but there's definitely better ways to do that. Now, some people I've seen run ramps of 93, 94, and all kinds of stuff like that. And who knows, maybe we will get there one day, but I like the 96 because it's definitely nice and smooth. And then of course we can do more controlling in the ESC itself. I guess it kind of depends on what side of the fence that you're on. So that's pretty much the actual Sanwa settings. And when we're looking at the actual graphs on here, I'll tell you how the point actually does work with the throttle curve itself and what that all talks about. So let's get into this tablet as best as we can here. All right, so that looks pretty good right there, and we will zoom in here on Premiere so you can take a look at that. And let's just go through and look at a log real quick. So we're going to press log, and we're going to hit the little download button, and it is going to start importing our log from the last run that we had. So it's actually the first time that I'm taking a look at this. So if we want to just go ahead and swipe over, we can basically get everything going here from the start. And I've noticed sometimes that my logs are a little incomplete here at the beginning. Maybe it's because sometimes in this case, I did not do a burnout and the log didn't pick up until I got to like a certain point. So maybe you want to like spin your tires or something like that. If you choose not to do a burnout, I was just going for the fastest run. So a lot of tracks aren't even making you do burnouts anymore. So that's just the way it is. It's the world we live in today. No burnouts for all. So here's our logs. Blue line right here at the top, of course, is our current, and the peak current that we pulled on this actual run was 470 amps, which a lot of people are going to be like, wow, that's like a lot. So I agree. There's things that I'm going to be working on to try to get that down. But, you know, we got these things, it's just burning and it's going to hold it, whatever. We're running 9618 on the gearing. If we come over here and click, we can see that our max RPMs are running at about 108,000 right here. So that is a very, very awesome. And we've got a nice gradual pink line all the way up to the top. You can see that we hit throttle, the line below, we hit maximum throttle probably around or maybe a little bit before mid track. So that's kind of what we're always shooting for. So that way we can get the turbo and stuff to kick in and all that kind of stuff. Our lowest voltage that we saw on this hit was 6.5 volts. So I've seen better, but you know, again, we were just kind of going for it, and I got a lot of timing in this tune, probably more than I will end up running down the road. But it was just one of those things where I just wanted to push through it, and I wanted to get to that time, man. Like that's what I wanted to do. It was like, I have to break 2 seconds on this GNSS. So let's just go for it. So that's the log deal. And what you do is you can just trash it right here with the little trash can in the corner, and it will delete the entire log. The old Fire tablet is a little touchy. It's kind of hard to do sometimes. All right, so we go into settings. So if we go to the first place here under general, there's really nothing here to worry about except for disabling your cutoff voltage. The first thing let's look at is, let's just go to boost and turbo. So under this case here, I had 50 degrees of boost timing and 25 degrees of turbo using the auto throttle functionality. So basically with auto throttle, what it's going to do is it is going to just apply timing automatically on your trigger pull. And then in the settings that you have here, there's no like RPM ranges or anything like that. It seems to work out just great and flawless for everybody. Helps control tire spin and all that kind of stuff. I'm a believer in it until somebody else can show me something or I can test something better. So we've got a turbo delay of 0. So as soon as we hit 100% throttle, I just want it to continue on bringing on the actual turbo. So your boost timing will go from 0 to 100%. So within that trigger pull, we're basically adding 50. Now, some people have flopped these numbers and some people have, you know, just kind of, you can do whatever you need to do with them. But this is just kind of where I was at this time to get that actual number. Turbo plus slope is how short of a time it takes to deliver all of that timing in there for the turbo. So I usually start a little bit higher, but I worked it down to 0.2 seconds. So within 0.2 seconds, after reaching 100% throttle, we are getting the full 25 degrees. So pretty aggressive, but it worked out great on this run and it held it all. Motor frequencies, right now I'm running at like 1, 10, and 1. I've seen people kind of all over the place and stuff. You know, whatever you are, your preferences, that is up to you. Braking is a little bit weird on the Sanwa, and the braking is a little bit weird and very, very aggressive when it comes to the R1. So I've got my braking, like the first couple nights trying to learn this thing, I would just be fishtailing and U-turning and all kinds of stuff hitting the brake power. So we've got 35% in the Sanwa, and then we have the only number that we adjusted here was we put 10% drag brake in, and we lowered the max brake amount down to 75%. When it comes to reverse, we've got reverse turned completely off, so it is set to one way. And now we get into the real fun and the meat and potatoes, which is throttle. So when it comes to throttle, let's start with the things that you don't have to worry about. Smooth start and smooth start range, both at 0. Neutral width, which is the deadband on your radio, I leave mine at normal. Acceleration, we leave at 10. Now, this is where things get a little silly, and I'll try my best to explain this. So if we look here on the actual thing, we're going to press power curve. And if we go back here, this line starts from a negative expo line at 0. And as you keep going up, it basically turns into a positive curve. Kind of like we would do the curve in a Tekin tune, or I was doing in my Castle tune with the actual sand wall. So it basically curves up the beginning of that hit, so it hits a little bit harder. But what I'm doing is I am building out custom curves, and I'm going to go through this and I'm going to redo all of these. I'm going to do like a custom curve for like, 10%, 15%, and maybe 20%. And when I talk about percentages, I'm talking about the actual percentage of launch. All right, so we're back in the screen recording here because that was totally annoying. So if you look at the graph here on the left side, you have your percentage of basically power going up the left side, and on the bottom going to the right, you have your time. So your PWM signal from 0 to 100. So this is where your point is going to be. So we used to think of point as a launch percentage back in the day, and really what point does is it just moves you along the graph. So like right now we could be at a 0.20, which means that we're going to pull the trigger and instantly advance over to 20 and just have 80% more of the throttle to ramp up. But what we did with the custom curve there is that we also increased the start power on the left to 20%. Not the start power that you're looking at here, but where the actual power is coming in. Now, depending on how you set this all up, you may have to go and adjust the start power. So the bigger your point, the higher your actual throttle percentage start power, then the lower or higher this number here might be. So if you go up to 20% like we are here with this red dot, then you're basically going to probably want to lower the actual start power down, because you're starting not at 0% throttle, you're starting at 20%. And as you can see, you can add dots, you can move these things around, you can build custom curves out like however you want to. You can add, I think, up to 16 or 20 points or something on this graph. It's really cool, and it would look a lot better if the numbers weren't covered up here on the iOS. That's why the Amazon thing, the Android tablet looks better, but since mine is an Amazon, it doesn't do screen recording. So again, the power curves, this is the meat and potatoes of the R1 system. You build that thing in there, you ramp it in nicely with the ramp numbers we talked about earlier on the SandWah, and then you point over and do whatever you want to do as far as launching to the right and the power level to the up and down. So it definitely gets a little tricky explaining all that, and really once you get the system in your hands, it's a lot easier. Just think of this graph as this right here. Just think of the up and down is your actual percentage of throttle, and then this is your point on the bottom to the left. So if we want to actually, kick it up a little bit and then have it ramp up and over, we're basically going to just create that custom curve. Now, when you're starting out, just use the curves that it has, the ones that just start at 0 and linearly go up. So you can do the negative curve with the 0, or as you tap the button, it's going to invert that a little bit and ramp in that boost a little bit more. So the whole key is to tell the ESC to ramp in a little bit more and maybe use a little less boost timing and then a little bit more turbo to get to that turbo timing as fast as possible. But as we said before, the boost is where your ET is going to be made, and the turbo timing, of course, is where your mile per hour is going to be made. And you're going to adjust the combination of that curve, the start power in the ESC, and then the point number all throughout, and see what you can get away with. You know, the night when I ran my actual run, I just started and left everything at 20, and maybe that's what you're going to want to do. Just immediately just chop off that first 15 or 20% and just build your curve up from there, and then adjust your point and just start at a lower point of like 10 and work it up to like 15 or 20. But if you do that, make sure that you drag out your actual axis out a little bit further, so you don't basically ramp in at 20 and you're actually at like 35 or 40% throttle. So it's very intuitive once you start playing with it and you understand it, but it's kind of a difficult topic to explain. I know Mark Vine tried his best as well on the Desert Hobbies podcast that they did, and that's kind of where I got my information from, and I've just been putting it to task, and it works perfectly. I mean, everything that we got from him and from other people with the auto throttle and stuff is great. So I do intend to play a little bit, maybe with RPM based boost, and see how that works. We'll see. You know, obviously things are going great, and I just got done soldering on 10 gauge wire onto the entire setup. So we should be able to pull more rip'ems and get some more miles per hour out of this baby. At least that is the hope. So I hope this video was not super confusing, guys. The R1 system is amazing. We're going to have more content coming on it. You know that, because that castle's going in there, and things are going to get a little twisted, I hope. So we will see you guys on the next video. Peace.